Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Joining us now on this election eve, Bob Woodward. It's 400 pages. The book is War. He's done many, many interviews on it. It is an insight into the Biden administration. I love what Robert Gates has said, who's served both political persuasions. On Woodward, he has an extraordinary ability to get otherwise responsible adults to spill their guts to him. Bob Woodward joins us on election eve. Bob, this weekend I discovered someone in the Keene household who had not seen All the President's Men. I tried to explain to them that I was interviewing Robert Redford on Monday. In that movie, you show up with Mr. Cady in the courtroom and you say, "My name's Bob Woodward, I'm from the Post, and I wanted to ask you how you happened to come on this case." The rudeness and direction of Redford's questions is appalling. It's shocking. Where did you learn to ask questions so abrupt, so direct, so as Robert Gates would say, they all spill their guts? Where did you learn that skill?
Well, look, that morning I got called to the courthouse. This was the morning of the Watergate burglary. I'd been covering night police for 9 months. And I go to the courthouse and in come these burglars dressed in business suits. I had never seen a burglar in a business suit. I'd never seen a well-dressed burglar. And the lead burglar announced reluctantly to the judge that he'd worked at the CIA.
Yeah.
And what? CIA?
Right.
Business suits, 5 burglars,
right.
I mean, it was just like, oh, how do you not follow this story? And
right.
That's what I did.
I want to drive the conversation forward, Bob, on this election eve for a nation, some would say, fighting with its concept of democracy. In the epilogue to War, you have a brilliant 2 sentences. Often I have said, only half jokingly, that when I wake up in the morning, my first thought is, quote, "What are the bastards hiding?" unquote. So let's get 2 answers. What is Mr. Trump hiding this morning?
Well, Trump is making very clear who he is, and it's so visible. Let me just give you an example. I'm sorry, this may sound a little boring, but it's right at the heart of your question. The people Trump, when he was president, chose to be close to him, people who'd spent their lives defending our country. And let's look at what these people that Trump picked for key positions say about Trump now. Former Chief of Staff John Kelly, one of the most respected people in the military. This was Trump's selection to be the chief of staff at the White House. Kelly says of Trump, he's an idiot. It's pointless to try to convince him of anything. He's gone off the rails. We're in crazy town.
Bob, let me ask also, to your wonderful quote, "What are the bastards hiding?" What is Vice President Harris hiding into this election?
Well, I think there are actually things that we don't know enough about. I had some time to work on how she deals with lots of issues, and it's very let me get the right selection here, because she is tough. She is the person who goes and has meeting with Netanyahu, which I got the notes of, and really this was July 25th of this year, just a couple of months ago. And she could not be tougher with Netanyahu. And the notes show her saying the following in a closed meeting with Bibi Netanyahu: "I'm disturbed by the humanitarian situation in Gaza. People are starving. There are 4,000 people per toilet. She really gets on him about this. And then she goes out in public and doesn't pull any punches and says, we cannot look away and become numb about what is happening in Gaza. And I will not be silent. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm giving a long answer.
No, it's excellent. Bob, stepping away here as we think about this election here, I can't help but wonder, thinking about your work, your earliest work back at the Washington Post, what has become of the GOP party? It seems like it is now clearly the party of one former President, Donald Trump. Is that the new GOP going forward?
Well, it is at the moment. We'll see. I know lots of Republicans, and I know some who will say kind of public, I support Trump. I like Trump because he's the force in the party. But privately, it's thumbs down. They don't like Trump. Look, who is Trump? This is the question that people need to answer. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like advice. He doesn't like democracy, doesn't like the Constitution, doesn't like truth.
Joining us, Bob Woodward. We will continue with Mr. Woodward. We say good morning to all of you across the nation on this election eve. Under 400 pages, War by Bob Woodward is simply a look into the Biden administration, framed by Netanyahu and Putin, Zelensky, and, of course, Vice President Harris. War. It's been out some time now. Paul Sweeney, pick it up with Bob Woodward, please.
Bob, tomorrow, obviously, Election Day. What will you be focusing on? Is it a state? Is it a certain candidate? Is it an issue? What are you going to be focusing on going into?
Well, I need to look at what happens, and all the polls say it's razor thin. So who knows? I hope and that people will look at the candidates, particularly. He was president for 4 years. He has said some things in this campaign that really, and he really shows what's at stake in this election. He is a danger to democracy. Right. He is a danger to the United States. Why? Go back, my first interview with him was 35 years ago when he was a real estate king in New York City. And then, and even in interviews I did in the Oval Office with him when he was president, he's driven by instinct. He's got this idea that his instincts, what his gut feel is perfect. That's the way to go.
Yeah, Bob,
you can't run a government on anyone's instincts. You need a team. You need some alternative views. And Trump is locked, as we know, locked into himself.
For the nation on this election eve, Bob Woodward joins us, of course, forever with the Washington Post. Bob, I had to do something for the youngest afterthought a while back. I had to look at her Vietnam paper and that. And like a lot of us, you were in NROTC at Yale, and I was doing another act out at the time at Boulder. I completely avoided reading or thinking about Vietnam, and I enjoyed Max Hastings, you know him well, from the Telegraph, and his one volume on Vietnam as well. The crucible of the modern Democratic Party is McGovern and HHH in 1972. The legacy that Vice President Harris...
HHS being Hubert Humphrey.
Hubert Humphrey, thank you. But the legacy that Harris carries forward, do you see her as a change agent for Democratic Party theology? Or is it, as the critics would say, Obama version 4?
Well, look, she's tough. She's going to president's school. She's very lucky, and in a sense, the country is very lucky that Biden, who was vice president once himself and didn't like to be cut out of things, he's made sure that she really is getting a graduate course in the presidency. She's at the meetings, the discussions, the debates. There are lots of signs of two qualities: independence and determination. And I think that that is a good thing. That's not a political judgment. It is what I was able to do in the reporting about what her course of going to president school is. She's got a national security advisor named Phil Gordon, who is really experienced,
Right.
really goes back a long time into the White House and the State Department and brings a lot of knowledge. Who's Donald Trump's national security advisor? His mouth. He will say whatever he wants, whatever springs in. That is the danger we face.
Bob Woodward, one final question. The dedication for my lifelong friend and reporting partner, Carl Bernstein. Do you guys talk a lot? Like, is there a Bernstein-Woodward take on where this nation is going right now?
Well, we do talk all the time, 3-4 times a week for sure. We saw each other recently. We did an appearance together just a few days ago in New York City. The question here is, who's Trump? Who's Harris? One important credential that Harris has is that Secretary of Defense Austin has a lot of respect for her. I describe new scenes in the book about what Austin has done and how he's been very tough with the Russian Defense Minister Shoigu, and there's some transcripts I have that are in the book, and you can see exactly what they said to each other. So there's hope, but to be a president and deal with this world situation now would stretch anyone, would stretch Dwight Eisenhower, would stretch. It is a very dangerous time. We got to get it right, and we got to be careful. And Trump is not a manager. Trump is not a person who really understands what the national interest is, because there is a blockage, and that blockage is he only cares about himself. On this election eve, we continue with Bob Woodward, a few more minutes with Mr. Woodward in celebration of his book War and the 20 books or so before that as well. We welcome all of you across this nation on Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and of course this new technology, YouTube. Paul, there was no YouTube.
No, there was not.
When the Watergate thing was going on.
No, exactly. Hey, Bob, if former President Trump were to lose this election, is there an heir apparent? Does Trumpism remain a political force? Is a J.D. Vance or someone like that out there in the wings? I mean, that's that's speculation. I don't know. What is very interesting is to listen to Trump in the last couple of days. He's in a very sour mood, and I think it was yesterday or the day before, he said, I mean, this is the man who wants to be president again. He's very dark, very profane comments. And he said, this is a crooked country. Now imagine somebody, this is not a crooked country. Right. It may become one if he becomes president. Bob Woodward, I got to ask one final question, and this is immense respect. And, we get a huge response. Republicans hate you. Democrats love you. I get it, folks. Bob Woodward with... No, that's just not... I know lots of Republicans who don't march in line with Trump. Well, I'm running out of time, Bob Woodward, but I got one final question with great respect for your career. Should newspapers endorse presidents?
Well, that's obviously up to them. At the Washington Post, there's a big controversy about the non-endorsement now. The Washington Post, I know very well for over 52 years, as I say, it's strong when the reporting is strong, as it has been now. I think it's been magnificent. And the editorial page should deal with the strength of that reporting. The editorial page needs to deal with reality, and the reporting is real and incredibly strong. To ignore it is to ignore reality. Not a good thing for any institution.
Right. Bob, thank you so much. Bob Woodward on this election eve across the nation, of course, forever with the Washington Post. The book is War.